You were born in Victorian London, the most civilized city in the world, according to those who've never had to breathe near the Thames. It's the height of the British Empire. There are gilded carriages, tea at 5, and an absurd amount of human feces floating in the river's waters. Your birthplace wasn't a polished wooden room, but an alley soaked in urine and coal smoke. Your father, a man who called anything that smelled of bread a banquet, works pushing garbage carts. Your mother sews until she bleeds, and still the rent is paid late and humiliatingly. You're born small, sickly, and, like every poor person in London, condemned to a job that literally stinks of death. Doctors say the city air is heavy, lies, it's rotten, factories spew smoke, horses piss in the streets, and the sewers, well, the sewers are a whole other story. They're open veins of filth that snake beneath the city, where rats are the size of cats, and diseases have names and addresses. That's where you're going? Congratulations, you've just become a sewer cleaner. No one is born a sewer cleaner, it's a punishment, not a choice. You start young, thin enough to fit into tunnels where even rats hesitate to enter. The recruiter calls you lucky boy, lucky because you're still breathing. He hands you a lamp, a bucket, and a piece of cloth for your face. A mask. No way. That's a doctor's job. You just have courage, or what's left of it after starvation. The smell is the first enemy. It's not just strong, it's almost physical, as if there are hands pushing you back. The air is so thick you can chew it. There are things floating everywhere. Feces, food scraps, dead rats, bits of, well, best not to ask what. You learn not to stare at anything for too long. If you stare too long, you know what it is, and that's dangerous. On the first day, you descend with other boys. One of them sings to ward off fear. Another carries an amulet with a rusty cross. Within minutes, the laughter fades. The light from the lamps dances on the slime-covered walls, and the sound of the city above disappears completely. Down below, there are only shallow breaths, footsteps in the mud, and the sound of something moving slowly in the water. You think the worst part is the smell. It's not. The worst part is the heat. The hot, humid, heavy air sticks to your skin like a dirty blanket, and at every turn, the tunnel feels alive. The wall breathes, the floor trembles, the water rises. When it rains outside, all hell breaks loose in here. Veterans call it the big shower. Sometimes there's time to run, sometimes not. On his third day, the boy who sang doesn't return. They say he slipped. No one goes after him. The sewer is deep, and the Thames swallows everything, including pity. One of the older men says he got lucky. You start to believe it. The tools of your trade are simple. An iron rod to push the blockages, a bucket to collect the solids, the English call it night soil, sounds elegant, right? And a rope tied around your waist. So, in theory, they can pull you out if something goes wrong. No one pulls. The rod slips, the bucket tips over, the rope breaks. When you disappear into the dark water, the foreman just writes your name on a piece of paper and finds another boy the next day. But hell has a hierarchy, and you're still in the shallows. There are the crawlers, the creepers. These are the worst. They go where even rats wouldn't dare, into pipes so narrow you can barely breathe. They advance on their bellies, with a lamp clamped between their teeth, scraping the mud with their bare hands. You'll get there soon. Promotion, they say. Meanwhile, you continue cleaning the main drains, where the water seems alive and carries everything. The city dumps shit, trash, carcasses, and secrets. So many secrets. Sometimes you find a ring, a coin, a pair of missing boots. Other times you find the owner, swollen, greenish, staring at you with a face that seems to laugh. You learn not to count the body. The only luxury you have is sleep, and even that is miserable. You sleep in a shared room, the smell of sewage permeating your body, your nails, your soul. Your clothes never dry properly. Your hair gets stiff with dirt. You wake up coughing and go to sleep coughing. Coughing is the anthem of the cleaners, and if you stop coughing, it's because your lungs have given up. Every now and then, a doctor comes by to study you. He measures you, takes notes, and tells you your examples of human resilience. You smile, but only because it's funny to see a man in white gloves burying his nose in a notebook to block out the smell. He leaves the same day. You stay. And when the great stink arrives, the summer of 1858, all of London discovers what you already knew. The river turns into a stew of death. The heat makes the stench rise, invading the palaces, the courts, and parliament. The nobles cover their noses with scented handkerchiefs and say something must be done. Something, of course, that doesn't involve them descending a single step into the hell where you work. But for you, the big stink is only Tuesday. You remain down there, scraping the mud and pushing feces with your stick, while above, politicians lecture on progress and civilization. Sometimes you hear the sound of carriages passing by, the distant echo of real life, and for a second, you wonder what it would be like to live without the smell, without the darkness, without the fear that every drop of water might be the last. But then something falls on your head, a piece of rotten meat, or maybe a boot hand. You're back to reality. London stinks, you stink, and no one cares. One day the foreman calls you for a new mission. An old tunnel, they say, blocked for months. It'll yield a bonus, he promises. You know what that means? Real danger. But a bonus is a bonus, and you still dream of buying bread you don't have to share with rats. Then you go down, and the tunnel swallows you, the light fades, the air is heavy, the noise of the city disappears. The silence is so dense it seems to stare at you. And then, you hear something, a wet sound, a quick movement, not human. You grip the lamp tightly, the flame wavers, and for an instant you swear you see eyes in the darkness, many eyes, but it's just a rat. Huge, shiny, looking like it recognizes another sewer creature. You laugh nervously. The sound echoes, and the rat runs away. You keep crawling. The mud rises to your chest. The smell changes not of feces, but of gas. A sweet, almost pleasant smell. You know what it means. Explosion. You stop, thinking about turning back, but the rope behind you is slack. Someone up there has already given up on pulling you. And then you realize that the sound of rising gas is the only sound left. You swallow hard, feeling the sweet smell rise through the tunnel. Each breath is a gamble. If you miss, the next one could be your last. The air vibrates with the promise of an explosion, and you remember the foreman laughing when he said it wasn't that bad. A lie. It's always too much. You know that if the gas ignites, no one will mention your name in any newspaper. No one will write about the cleaner who disappeared into the bowels of the city, just another boy swallowed by the Thames and the rats. The tunnel is too narrow to think. Every step is calculated, every breath counts. The sticky water covers your legs and rises slowly, as if it wants to swallow you whole. You crouch lower, resting the iron rod on the ground, each beat reverberating in your ears, making your heart pound as if it wants to burst from your chest. And the enormous rat? It reappears, crossing your vision for a second, reminding you that, beneath the city, you are not alone. But company is useless. It won't save anyone when the mud swallows everything. You remember the others, those who came before you, some young men like you, full of courage, or what was left of it, who now rest in eternal silence. Hidden in corners not even the worms want to touch. You swallow your fear, chew the mud with clenched teeth, and carry on. Each tunnel you clear is a promise of temporary survival. Each body that escapes the current is a reminder that tomorrow, if there comes a day, you will have to do it all again. The city above remains oblivious. Lords discuss taxes, nuns open orphanages, the queen drinks tea with jam. But you know what's happening down here? Where humanity dissolves into smell and darkness? There's no glory in being a sewer cleaner, only survival, and even that is unstable, like sticky mud slipping through your fingers. Finally, you reach the blockage they promised would be simple. A months-old blockage, a jumble of debris, fabric, rotting wood, bones and, perhaps, something that was human not long ago. You feel the heat rise, the gas build, the lamp tremble. Your hand slips, wet, dirty. With each push of the stick, the risk increases. One slip, one crack, and the darkness can turn into a fiery embrace. You think about giving up, but you know giving up isn't an option. The exit is far away, the street is a distant dream, and the tunnel seems to laugh, the slime sticking to your skin, your clothes, your soul. The rat reappears once more, crossing your path, indifferent to the danger, as if to say, welcome to the city of London. No one is safe here. Hours feel like minutes, or minutes feel like hours. You don't know. The surface clock has no value here. Time is measured in breaths, in pounds of mud moved, in rats avoided, in gases sniffed. Every step is a dance with death, and you don't know the choreography, but you still move forward. The tunnel finally opens into a larger drain. The water flows faster, daylight streams in through a small gap, and you feel a flash of relief, but it's just a trick of the brain, because the smell is still there, penetrating every pore, reminding you that the city stinks, and so do you. You kneel, put your hand in the water, feel the cold mixed with the raw, and realize that survival is not a victory, only a delay in tragedy. As you leave, you encounter other cleaners. Some are pale, others have lost bits of fingernails or fingernails. But they all share the same look, the silent understanding that the work is never done, that every tunnel holds secrets, every bend could be the last, and that London, for you, is a city of rats, feces, and broken promises. On the way back, the city seems normal. Children play in the streets, carriages hustle by, and vendors sell bread and fruit as if life were simple. You try to remember what it was like to live up there, but the memory is quick and cruel. The smell of the street now competes with the smell you carry, feces, sludge, decay, and you realize that no amount of cleansing can erase what you've become. At night, you rest little. Your body aches, your mind can't shut off. Sleep is fitful, filled with dreams where the mud swallows you, where the giant rat watches you, where the gas explodes. And you drown in your own courage. It's an endless cycle, an invisible contract with death. Signed the first day someone said, you are small, but enough to clean London's sewers. And so life goes on. Every day, the same smell. Every tunnel, the same darkness. Every rat, the same company. You survive, but only because there's no alternative. And London? London never changes. It remains beautiful and elegant for those who wear gloves and keep their distance. But for you, who breathe the city from the inside out, London stinks. It stinks as it always does. A stench that permeates your skin, your clothes, your body, your mind. A few years later, you look at the illuminated buildings, the Thames glistening in the sun. You smile wryly. The city is magnificent. They say, you agree, magnificent. If you don't have to go down the sewer. The rest of you, however, still stinks. And it will stink until the end, because in Victorian London, the nobility sleeps in soft beds, but the clean, oh, the clean are the cleaners, and cleaners never stay clean. And in the end, you understand. Survival is a cruel joke. You survived, but you lost something that neither the mud, nor the gas, nor the rats can explain. You survived, but you paid the price in every muscle, in every breath, in every drop of sweat mixed with the Thames. You survived, but the city will never recognize you. You're just another speck of dirt, an invisible worker, a shadow in the tunnel. And maybe it's better that way, because being remembered would be worse than disappearing. So you get up, take a deep breath, or at least try to end. Prepare for another day of sewage, another day of London, another day of smell, mud, and rats. Because, deep down, the cruelest lesson is this. In Victorian London, true citizens never smell the flowers.